So we are going to continue now by taking a look at the situation in Sweden. We have with us Marcus Carlstedt, who is faculty representative of the academic trade union that has over 100,000 members in Sweden. And he'll be talking about the problem of organizing against war in Sweden in relation to trade unions and government policies and political parties. So, thank you very much.
Hej alla, jag är Marcus från Sverige, men jag kommer att snacka engelska. So, hello everybody. I am a trade union delegate in the Teachers Union in Sweden at the Stockholm level. Can you hear me? That means I'm negotiating salaries with the employer, I'm defending the members at the different schools I'm responsible for. And I'm also in the national negotiation delegation to negotiate the collective agreement. And we have quite some problem with that right now. So we are hoping to organize a strike next year. We will see. Otherwise, I'm also a sort of coordinator of this European work around the European appeal against war. And one expression of that is the Facebook group you can see behind me. It has around 40 members. We just created a week or two ago. And most of the members are actually critical members of the left party in Sweden, or even ex-members, because only 2 weeks ago there were 22 that signed a public declaration saying that they were leaving the left party, and especially around the war question, but also around the general right turn of the left party as they expressed it. So I think this group could be a starting point to develop a movement in Sweden around the European appeal. I would like to inform you very briefly around two issues in Sweden. One is linked to my trade union work, because I have a certain responsibility for international questions together with 5 other people in the Stockholm branch. And I started personally directly after the attacks on Gaza by Netanyahu to demand of my trade union to make a declaration. They said it wasn't possible, only the international education organization would make that because it was a sensible question. I continued to work around that question. There were several of us among the international responsibilities we had. And we actually organized a meeting by the trade union in Stockholm a month ago with around 30-40 participants of our members. And it was a very good meeting. We discussed the things, but also the problems that we have to discuss this question as trade unionists and also as teachers in the schools. As you know, as in here in Norway, I suppose, there is a huge pressure on us not to discuss this sensible question because you have to look at both parties, as they say, and they mean the government of Israel and Hamas. But of course, for us, this is more a humanitarian question to stop the bombings of civilians and children in Gaza. So we have huge problems. What happened after this meeting was that we suddenly realized that among us there were a representative from Israel, not a Jewish teacher. There was also one Jewish teacher that we discussed with, but there was a representative of Israel in some way, officially as a journalist, that had been in the meeting, and he wrote an article that one of the main papers in Sweden published, and it was a direct attack against our meeting on Palestine, and it was also an attack on teachers in general that spoke about Palestine and Gaza with their children. And as you know, there are a lot of children from the Middle East in Sweden in the schools. And after that, only 2 days ago, I received a notice from the responsibles of my trade union saying that we cannot organize or do anything around Palestine and Gaza as elected responsible for international questions without the consent by the national leadership of the trade union. And they are very, very reserved of permitting doing anything. And I won't tell you the situation about Ukraine, because that's even worse, of course. If you're against the arms sending, you're a pro-Putin demagogue, of course. So it's a very difficult question, but we have to go on, and as I said, this is a small start to start discussion to try to resemble the people, and we are discussing, among other things, to have a trade union appeal around Gaza in this group. That's one thing. The other thing is the fact itself that in this group there are a lot of people from the left party. I'm personally not a member of the left party. That shows a little of the crisis of the official parties in parliament. The left party is a special case because they have been against the affiliation of Sweden to NATO. They were against the signing of the Defense Cooperation Agreement that was adopted by Parliament last week. So that's good in itself, but they have done nothing to mobilize. I was in a small demonstration the day before the Parliament decision with around 200 people in Stockholm. But the left party hadn't mobilized for this, even this demonstration, and that's unfortunately it's a little the same thing around Gaza, because the huge demonstrations that have been taking place in Stockholm, for example, have not been directly with the consent of the left party. They have made certain things on their own, and there is within the party a huge frustration about the leadership reaction to the situation. So it's a little the same thing as here in Norway, I think, a sort of opposition within the left party against the politics of the leadership. Well, that was about all I was going to say. I suppose you have read about this defense cooperation agreement that is actually awful. Because it permits the American troops to circulate free in the whole of Sweden, and it also permits them to build their own parts in the bases existing, where no one can have control. And just a few days ago, there was a new agreement between the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, to, in an important way, rebuild the infrastructure in the Arctic zone. Of course, to let American troops, get in by the Norwegian harbors and go directly through Norway, Sweden, Finland to the Russian border. That was the latest thing. So every week something is happening to escalate the war, and I feel we're in a situation that is extremely serious, and we have what I feel a will from those in power to actually prepare for a real war. That's what they are doing right now. So every little step we can take to enforce the resistance is extremely important, and I think this European appeal is our best way right now. Thank you.